I'm happy for the Bills that he's back, but it probably got close because, at some point that contract was a detriment. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for being with me today. As always, we ask you to please make sure to like, to comment, and to subscribe to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. We are here in the Connors and Ferris podcast studio. I'm recording this at a little after 5 o'clock on Tuesday, which has been, to this point, a relatively slow day in NFL free agency. Jenna on vacation with her family. I told her she's got her computer. She's ready to check in when there's something big. There hasn't been anything massive, at least as far as right now while we're recording this. Jenna needs to enjoy her time off. Dan taking care of the kids on a Tuesday, big family time for him. So he was willing to come on a little bit later. I said, let me do this for now, and we'll all get back together later in the week. So we're here to talk about what's going on with the Bills in free agency. Look, you're going to hear the stuff with Trey Hendrickson. At the moment, nothing official that they've reached out to him. I know there's a couple of reports. I respect those guys. I would be stunned if Brandon Beane hasn't reached out at some point to Trey Hendrickson's agent to get something done. I know he wants a lot of money. That guy's been waiting for his big payday, and the way the Bengals treat their players, he got pushed to this point. And I don't know if he's going to get that money. And I think the Bills are probably waiting to see how far down does the money go. When would it be a number that makes sense for the Bills? The other thing is we don't really know what Jim Leonhard thinks of him as a player. We know he's talented. We know he's come up with a lot of sacks and been a pressure player for the Bengals, the one they had, but he's not really a 3-down guy. And I don't know where they are in the mix of spending those resources and that money on a straight out pass rusher. Like, he's better than Bosa. Bosa was bad against the run, gave them some pass rush, but it's a 1-year deal, in, out, done. Hendrickson's going to want to get paid. So do I want to see them get a guy with his ability? Yes. Do I want to see them use a lot of resources if he's not a great fit? No. But, hey, look, that's what Beane gets paid for. That's what Leonhard gets paid for. It's what they're going to have to figure out, how he would fit in this new style defense. So they have been relatively quiet. The big news that we know of, well, one thing breaking late, Cam Lewis getting a 2-year deal with the Bears. One of my favorite guys on the team, probably because he's really like talking to us. I shouldn't say that. It's not like he's the kind of guy coming up and say, interview me. But when we would talk to him, he was always good. I remember asking him one time about what it's like to try to cover Travis Kelce, who, by the way, made his big announcement that he's back. Congrats to him. Taylor told him to do it. And he was like, he goes, well, first of all, he's big. And you kind of laugh at that, but Cam Lewis is not a big man. And he goes, Kelce will just get in front of you and like block you out. And it's tough to get around him. He's huge. But the guy had to play a lot of positions. I know some of you maybe didn't see the value that he brought to the defense by being able to play multiple positions. But he's a guy I'll miss. It's time to move on. Like, Jim Leonhard's got to get his own dudes in there. There'll be a Cam Lewis type guy, but a UB guy made a lot out of his career to be on the roster. So good luck with him in Chicago. Big news is Dawson Knox getting a deal done. And at some point, we'll probably get to hear from Knox. And I don't know whether he would say it or Beane would say, but you'd have to think it got close to the point where he wasn't going to be back, right? I mean, I know he wants to be in Buffalo. You can see the deal. The exact numbers aren't out yet, but it's a 3-year contract. It's a better cap hit for this year. It does free some stuff up for the Bills. So you would think it's probably at least 2 years that he'll be in Buffalo, and then we'll see after that point. But I think it's a good move. The contract just didn't work. I mean, they signed him in 22, and then they went ahead and drafted Dalton Kincaid. And I think Beane knew it was an overpay. Maybe he didn't feel that way at the time for what would be a starting tight end. And maybe when he drafted Kincaid, they were trying to sell us that he's more of a wide receiver than a tight end. He's not a wide receiver. He's a pass catching tight end. But it did change the role that Knox would have on the team. But team guy, does block well enough and catch the ball well enough to be on the roster and be a guy that you're going to count on. He got a lot of snaps last year, more snaps than Kincaid and more snaps than Hawes. So I'm happy for the Bills that he's back, but it probably got close because, at some point that contract was a detriment. I think he wanted to be there. Speaking of guys who wanted to be there, Conor McGovern. And he definitely wanted to stay in Buffalo. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday with all the money that like Tyler Lindenbaum got. If McGovern would have gotten himself on the free agent market, who knows what the Bears would have paid him, right? I mean, he got a lot of money and good for him. He spoke today in Orchard Park. Now, first of all, none of us pretend to know these players particularly well. We interact with them. We know the guys who like talking to us. We also can tell the way they are with their teammates. So you've probably heard McGovern is a pizza guy. He makes his own pizzas, does it for the team. He jokes he's not even Italian, but he loves pizza. Well, a lot of people do, but he kind of looks like he'd be a paisan, but he's not. He shaved his mustache off too, but he walks in Orchard Park today to the media and brings pizzas. Now, these aren't ones he made. These are ones he bought. He can afford them. I'm kidding, but nice move. He's not a guy who panders to the media, but he's a well-liked guy. It was kind of a nice little thing for him to do today. Cool for him. And he talked about Josh Allen getting involved. But the other thing he talked about is leaving money on the table. And sometimes guys say that, and it's like, okay, but he really did. Like if he'd have gotten past the Bills, and he could have, he'd have said, hey, let me see what's out there and then see where it goes. I think he would have gotten more. Here's what he had to say about the reasons he wanted to be in Buffalo. His family wanted to be there, and about money.
That was a conversation me and my wife had, and really it came down to, is a couple $1 million worth, because who knows what would have been at the end of the day. A couple $1 million worth, like our happiness here, is it really going to change our way of life? Like we don't really do much anyways. We're kind of boring in that way. So really, is that really going to change our lives? And we decided no, and we thought the best fit would be here in Buffalo.
Now, look, it's easy to say a couple of $1 million doesn't mean much when it comes to your happiness. First of all, I'm glad you're seeing him say that and hearing him say that. You understand the tone in which he said it. He's not one of those guys that like, what do I care about $1 million? I think he just feels like I'm very lucky to make this money. My family is happy. What's it mean to me to move and to start all over again somewhere else? I think he said, I want to raise my kids in Buffalo. Like he wants to make this home. And he's not going to play that long, but he's going to play there for a while. So I think that's kind of cool because we're talking about the difference in what could have been, overall of a 3-4 year contract. I mean, it could be the difference in $3, $5, $10, $12 million. It's a lot of money. I don't care how much you make. That is a lot of money. And you do see a guy who's got a little perspective that says like, this is what I want. And I know it's nice to be able to say that when you're making a lot of money, and he is. He's earned his money. He's been a really good player. Now, what I thought was interesting too is that he talked about Josh Allen getting involved and that he had talked to Josh, and he said Josh helped both sides. So I'm sure Josh was talking to Bean, he's talking to McGovern, giving him some tips maybe on what happens. And I'm sure he's telling the Bills how much he means to him. He's a Josh guy. He's his center. He's his friend. And it works out. And it's really interesting with Josh, where he's involved in the picking of the head coach. He's involved in the contract of another player, because there are guys that would say, I don't get involved in a man and his money. Now, you can look at it, it's a positive, but what if it wouldn't have worked out? Would you feel differently about it? But he did get involved. I don't have any problem with it, but he probably wouldn't do that for every player. It's his friend and it's a center who he deals with all the time. I mean, let's, just pick another player out and say, if it was Ed Oliver, who he's teammate with and his friend, I don't know if he gets involved in the contract there because I don't think he's as personally close to some other players. Or maybe if it was, I'm trying to think who would be a good example. Cole Bishop, right? I'm sure he's friendly with Cole. It's his teammate. But when that point comes, I don't know if it's the same as an offensive lineman and a guy who's, close to in every way. So I'm glad McGovern's back. I think that was a good move. But to the point about Josh getting involved, they also brought back Kyle Allen. And I think that's fine as the backup. You guys know Mitch Trubisky left and went to the Titans. And Kyle Allen is one of Josh's really good friends. And he only played with the Bills that 1 year, but now they bring him back. I think he's been on 6 teams. The Bills will be, the 7th time he's been with the Bills twice, but 6 different teams. He's bounced around. He's a journeyman quarterback in the league. How is he as a backup? I think he's fine. Like, teams have wanted him, but not wanted to necessarily keep him. He was with Detroit last. But I'm talking about guys here that are Josh's buddies. Dawson Knox, Conor McGovern, Kyle Allen. Does Josh have any friends that are pass rushers? I'm only asking because maybe he could get a deal done. Because it's good. They got the center. They got the tight end back. Got the backup quarterback. Josh, come on. There's Josh Allen. Guy named Josh Allen. I don't think they're friends. And I don't think Jacksonville's trading them. But pass rushers, Josh. See if you can make friends with a few of those guys and then bring them to Orchard Park and get involved in that. So that's where they are right now. Again, the Trey Hendrickson thing is something. Is Josh friends with him? I don't think so. I think he's sacked Josh before, tackled him, but I don't think he's friends. But they do need pass rushing. And it's just probably is a numbers thing to see when he'll eventually get his deal. But, for right now, it's fine. And to be quite honest, I know some people are anxious and thinking that Bean hasn't done enough. And what are the Bills doing in terms of fixing this defense and needing help? I'm fine at the moment. You notice, no matter how much the guys on, like ESPN and all are, pumping up and how many dollars have been spent in free agency, I'm not sitting there looking at some move right now and going, wow. Look, Carolina got a pass rusher, right? And they gave him a ton of money. He's a good player. He's 25 years old, coming from Jalen Phillips. He came from the Eagles. He was in Miami and then was with the Eagles for half a year and then moved on, but doesn't guarantee anything. Like the Milton Williams signing by New England last year, really good, right? Those kind of things can work, but I don't get too worked up over teams spending a fortune in free agency. You know who the Bills signed on day one of free agency last year? It was Josh Palmer. Wasn't a fortune, but it wasn't a great free agent signing, at least to this point. So we'll see how it plays out. But honestly, the Bills making the McGovern move and getting DJ Moore before free agency started, those are 2 huge offseason moves. So I'm not sitting there going, oh my God, they haven't done anything yet. There are plenty of free agents out there. There are plenty of players that can help. And I think it's at a different level in terms of the type of players they're going to bring in free agency, unless it's a pass rusher, unless it's Hendrickson. So the Patriots spent money. Romeo Doubs, 4 years, somewhere in that $18 million a year range. Doesn't cost them a draft pick like it did for the Bills when they ended up getting DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is certainly a more accomplished player. I do like the way Doubs plays, and that's a good contract for that type of player for New England. I'm sure they're very happy. They haven't done a deal. They haven't tried to get A.J. Brown. They haven't gotten A.J. Brown. They haven't given up draft capital there. So they went with Doubs. Do they still try to get another receiver? Maybe. Maybe that's what they'll do. Maybe their plan is to draft one and hold on to their picks, and then we'll see what happens with A.J. Brown. I don't think the Bills are in that mix at all with A.J. Brown. They're not giving up that pick, another pick, since they already gave up a second-round pick. But I like the Dobbs deal. I don't necessarily think Dobbs is a better player than DJ Moore. He's younger, and he didn't cost you a draft pick. But I think the way Moore plays maybe fits better for the Bills. But we'll see how that plays out. The Bills decided to use the draft pick as part of the idea of getting a player and not just going the free agent route. You saw what happened with Alec Pierce, where the money went way up. And then with Dobbs, it's a very nice contract. It's, he increased his salary fivefold, but it's not crazy money. It's less money than the Bills are paying DJ Moore. So take that for what you will. Comment on that. Would you have rather had a guy like Romeo Dobbs as a player and for that money and without giving up the draft pick? If you get the better player, you don't love giving up the pick, but you want the better player. They need the better player. So let's see if DJ Moore is that case. And by the way, do you not love the Jets getting back Geno Smith? You realize they drafted him the year the Bills drafted EJ, 2013. Yeah. It's kind of funny with the Jets. And I'm watching. So I'm just asking you guys, if you watch Pat McAfee, I turned it on because they had like Schefter on. I had it on. I was following Twitter. And they were going on and on about this move. And they had, Peter Schrager and McAfee and even Orlovsky all talking about this Geno move. It's fine. It's fine for the Jets. Aren't they tanking this year? Aren't they trying to build something and then draft a quarterback? But they were talking about it like it was, I don't know. Who would even be a good example? Be like Minnesota getting Sam Darnold back, I guess. That's not really a good example because he was only there a year. I'm trying to think of who would be the guy. Imagine Seattle bringing Russell Wilson back. I guess all those are funny because those teams have been at least good. But anyhow, Geno Smith. And I don't watch McAfee. It's a tough show for me to watch. I know it's not for my age group. Man, the dude is like energy drink, I'll say, up all the time. All the time. And they're all clapping and going. And hey, the show works. The guy's making millions and millions of bucks. So I do not, have anything to say about the success he's had. It's just, that show's just a lot, man. There's always something going on. But they had those guys on, and I wanted to try to follow stuff as it was going in addition to Twitter. So that's what we have. All right. Let me take one last check. Because I guess if it was something big, you know what I would do? I would delete this video and then we would start over again. But no, the first thing I'm seeing, and yeah, nothing at the moment. So we'll see how it plays out. But anyhow, that's going to do it for me right now. Again, when something happens, we will have content. Also, a lot of you commented very positively about us doing something on the Buffalo Sabres, who, as I'm recording this, are trying to win their 8th in a row. Dan's excited about it. So's Jenna. We're going to have some Sabres guests on, maybe even as early as next week as they get themselves ready for the playoffs. So not at the expense of Bills stuff, but, we'll do some Sabres stuff for Buffalo fans. And then certainly we'll keep going with the Bills content. And we got something special coming up right in the beginning of April, so we'll tell you about that. But anyhow, that's going to do it for me from the Connors and Ferris podcast studio. For Jenna, who's on vacation, for Dan, who's getting a well-deserved Veteran Day off, I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you the next time on Buffalo Plus.
Buffalo Plus.